Time to see what the Descendants have been up to. Hey everyone, welcome to Princess Gay. I'm your host Connie, and today we are here with Descendants, The Rise of Red. This is the brand new Descendants movie that came out a month ago maybe. I don't know exactly how long. But this is a donation reward for Smurf. Thank you for donating for this, Smurf. And this is the newest Descendants movie. It is the fourth one in the series. And it's been over 2 years since we last reacted to the Descendants movies. We reacted to the first three back at the beginning of 2022. It's been over 2 years now, and that's wild to think about. So, let's get into what I know about this. Practically nothing. I know that Brandy is going to be reprising her role as Cinderella. Brandy played Cinderella in the early 2000s, I think, like 20 years ago. And she's coming back to reprise her role as the character again here. And I don't think Cinderella was shown in the previous movies. I think she was mentioned, but not shown. But yeah, she's going to be back in this. And I think that's pretty much all I know about this. If you don't know what this franchise is, I would suggest you go back and watch the old reactions to the first three films, or at least just go watch the first three films yourself. But basically, this is a series centering around the descendants of famous Disney characters. And specifically, the villains. Like, our main characters specifically are the children of different villains from it, like Cruella de Vil and Maleficent and whatnot. And the entire thing centers around, we grew up on this island. We've only known what it's like to be bad, but we're being given this chance to turn that around, to actually go to this fancy princess private school and, be better people. And they do. They turn their lives around. There's romances, there's shenanigans, there's surprisingly some action in there. A lot of fantasy stuff because, storybook princesses, there's dragons and all because of that. Hades is in the third one. So you got a lot of cool, fun Disney shit. And I really enjoyed the movies. And if I remember right, I believe I liked each one better than the last. Maybe. I know I like the second one better than the first. I think I like the third better than the second as well, but I'm not 100%. It's been 2 years. Keep that in mind. But I know I like the music for the most part. There's some music that was a little generic and whatnot, but I do like the music. And I specifically remember and like the What's My Name song that Uma sings. So there's that. But there's other songs I obviously like too. So yeah, I don't know how this is going to follow those up and everything. But one thing that I'm wondering about is will it be addressed regarding the death of Cameron Boyce? Cameron Boyce was one of the actors in the first three films. He did other stuff on Disney and whatnot too. And after the third movie came out, I believe it was after it came out. Either that or like right before it actually released. He passed away. And because of that, I think that's why there hadn't been a fourth film before now. But I wonder how they're going to address that. Are they just gonna like have it so the character also passed? Because that's honestly the only thing that I feel is like respectful enough. I feel like the entire idea of like, oh, he like went away or something would be a little weird and wouldn't be the best idea. To have like a full on like mentioning of like, oh, he did pass away and here's a tribute to him, sort of like what they did with Black Panther Wakanda Forever and the passing of Chadwick Boseman. I think that would probably be the best case scenario, um, and just make the most sense. But we'll see. We'll see. Like I said, I don't know anything about like the plot or anything of this or what other characters are going to be in this, etc. Um, but one thing I do know, and this is going to be the last thing I talk about before we get into this, is I do know that this is not super well received. And I don't mean just by like Smurf, who donated for this. I know this is not super well received in general. And I mean, I don't know why. But as I always state, I am always willing to give anything a chance. I form my opinions based on my viewing experience, not on the words of others. I have liked a lot of things that have been viewed as, pretty standardly hated by the crowd. And there's been a lot of things that have been very well received that I've hated. It's all subjective. And we're allowed to have differing opinions on that. I might end up liking this movie. I might end up not. I don't know until I watch it. So, I think that's enough reason to watch it. So again, thank you to Smurf for donating for this. As always, if you or anyone else has any ideas for donation rewards that you want to suggest for me, that you want to donate for, please feel free. I'm willing to check out anything. I don't care whether it's mostly seen as good or bad. I don't care what genre it is. I don't care when it came out. None of that matters to me. If you think that it would be an interesting reaction to check out, for me to check out, please feel free to suggest it. And if you're willing and able to donate, of course. And it doesn't have to be movies. It can be shows. It can be stuff on YouTube. Anything is fair game with that. So keep that in mind as well. That being said, let's just get into it and see what this film has in store for us. Cutting in here real quick to remind you that we have a lot of great content to check out on the channel. Between Monday and Friday, we have a plethora of awesome series reactions with 2 on Friday. We also have movie reactions every Saturday and Sunday, as well as Let's Plays every day of the week. We switch on and off every day between Horizon and Baldur's Gate 3 and have Anno Mutationum on Saturdays. Please don't forget to click the link in the description below to follow it to today's reaction. We redirect everything just due to copyright. And also, don't forget to like and subscribe to the video and the channel, respectively. And I hope you have a great time with today's reaction. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So, I have 2 things of note here. Like I mentioned in the pre-thoughts, this movie I've seen, like, just based on, like, I guess social media and stuff, people have been giving like pretty mixed to negative reviews. I've seen a lot of people saying they just didn't like it compared to the first 3 and everything. And here's the thing. For me, most of the movie, like 90% of this movie, fantastic. Like I don't see I don't see how anyone could hate this personally. But again, it's all subjective, it's all opinion. Everyone's entitled to their thoughts. 90% of this movie, fantastic. I think it's right up there with the best of the Descendants movies from the past, the original trilogy. And I say 90% because that other 10% exists. My issue here is this was way too simple. And yeah, there's that little bit at the end. It's like, oh, you think this is over? It's like, yeah, things can go bad when you mess with the fabric of time and all. Obviously, setting up for the future. Which really you should never, like, assume you're going to do well enough to get another movie. They really shouldn't. Even if there was enough goodwill from the first trilogy to get this and all, you shouldn't assume that's still going to carry over. But point is, I felt it was way too simplistic. And unfortunately, making the VKs, the villain kids, to be the ultimate bad guys, to be the ones who, like, you know, just are behind everything and are the cause of all this problem, all this trouble, it kind of leads to almost, how do I put this? It kind of goes against the message of the first three movies. That villain, that we should, you know, not judge people based on, you know, narrow-minded expectations and ideals and whatnot. The first three movies, the first trilogy, was all about, like, showcasing these villain kids, and it's like, oh, we assume they're bad because their parents were bad. And it's just like, that was a bad way of looking at things. And here it's like, we see, like, they were just, like, raised into that, and that's just how they are. And I don't know, it feels weird to, like, have it just be that simplistic. Because you could say, like, oh, they're trying to get revenge because of the flamingo thing, but that was entirely Ulia, or whatever her name is, Uma's aunt. That was entirely her fault. Like, you literally cannot logically blame anyone. And it's like, anyone else, I mean. It's just, I don't know. It kind of paints them as, like, one note. As just, you know, evil. And that kind of goes against the entire idea of this franchise, showcasing that people aren't just black or white like that, which is even stated in this movie. I don't know, it just feels like a really weird decision for this franchise. Especially when there's, like, I don't know, I feel like pretty obvious setup for it to have been, like, for some reason, secretly Cinderella who did it. And just imagine, let's say there's 20 minutes left, right? Let's say there's 20 minutes more in the movie. The girls go back to the future and nothing has changed. And they soon find out, even 10 minutes would probably be enough. They soon find out through talking with them and confronting them that it wasn't anything the VKs did. That it was Ella. That something happened when they went to the Castle Coming, that's what it was called. When they went to Castle Coming together as friends. That Ella did something, whether intentionally or not, that publicly and horrifically embarrassed Bridget. To the point where it ruined her life, pretty much. Because it would have to be something extreme for Bridget to have taken gone down the path she did. And so it's like, just that little extra time, and then they're able to talk through it, and, like, maybe it was an accident or a misunderstanding, and Ella's able to explain herself, able to, like, explain what actually went down, and maybe Bridget realizes she's been wrong this entire time and realizes things have gone bad. And yeah, it would still end very corny, still end very ridiculous, but I mean, it's no more ridiculous and corny than what we actually got or what any of these movies end up going towards. It's like we expect Descendants to be ridiculous and corny. We expect it to be silly and over the top and, Disney fairy tale bullshit. To make sure it has a happy ending and all. So it's like having it be like that would at least make more sense. Having it be this simple though, it's like it kind of goes against the entire don't judge a book by its cover mentality that this series has had. Even if at least just a little. And causes some problems. It's not like the worst possible ending it could have had, but I just feel like it could have been better here. And it just needed, again, at least 10 minutes more. It could have pretty much handled this with 10 minutes, I'm sure. They just needed they needed it to not be as simple as, oh, it was the VKs. Now, moving on from that, it's just that's pretty much my big gripe with this film. I feel like there should have been a little more complexity to this, especially since one of the themes of this film was clearly that things aren't so black and white, that things are gray and complex and everything. And hell, maybe there's a plan for that. Maybe that's a plan with the future installment. Because that's clearly, there's clearly something planned for the future. But this just feels way too simple. Now, I don't mind the majority of the cast of the first three movies not being here, with the exception of like 2 people. I don't care about that. I do not mind at all. I don't think that's in any way a flaw with the movie. I like the original cast, but having a movie take place, after the events of the original trilogy that focuses on, you could say, a new generation, I'm all about that. That's fine. No issues there. I also don't mind the silly CGI with like the eel and the swamp and everything. Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's bad, but that's kind of the charm of it. It's a Disney Channel original movie with charmingly bad CG. I can dig that. No issues there. I don't mind the time travel aspect. I don't mind that at all, because time travel has been used in this kind of story before. One of the Cinderella movies, I think it's the third one, is a time travel story. And with the entire Alice in Wonderland concept brought in here too, you also have the aspect of this all with Ruby, Volume 9. And yeah, I can admit that's maybe just a connection that I made, but there are some similarities there with time travel, with the Alice in Wonderland concept, with the complexity of good versus evil and everything. There's some connections you can make there. And again, maybe that's just a me thing as being a huge Ruby fan, but yeah. I did want to just mention that at least. The music in this was fantastic. Some of the best music we've had in the series, easily. And my favorite song from the original trilogy, What's My Name, it was back, so that's always a good thing. And I just felt like this really captured the overall feel of the original trilogy. Even paying like a really beautiful tribute to Cameron Boyce. Like that tribute at the beginning of the film was absolutely beautiful. It was such a good moment. Um, I really think that this film felt like a really good successor to the original trilogy. And whether or not the original cast returns in a future one, or if it continues to focus entirely on the new cast, or even a mix of both, I think that this was just a genuinely great movie overall. I have an issue with the ending. I think it was way too simple, and I think that it does go against the concepts and themes that this series has kind of been built on a little bit. But it's not enough to ruin the movie as a whole. If I think 90% of this movie is fantastic, like that 10%'s not gonna ruin it. That 10%'s not gonna be enough to make me dislike this film. So yeah. Plus, like I said, the ending with like the setup for the next one and everything also kind of helps fix some of the issues I had with it. I was trying to look up in between. My hair is like not cooperating, but what's new there? I was trying to look up in between like what issues people had with it, and I wasn't really finding anything. Let me see if I can find something on Rotten Tomatoes, because the reviews I saw here, just real quick, were all positive and talking about like the themes and messages and whatnot. But let me actually check to see here what it says on Rotten Tomatoes. As always, though, take it with a grain of salt, of course. Um, it's all subjective and form your own opinions. So let's see here. Okay, the basic thing here is just telling the general consensus. Okay, so okay, there's one review here that basically just says it's like, listen, if you're a kid who wants to be introduced to musicals, watch 1939's Babes in Arms. It's like, what the fuck? There's so many different paths you could have taken, but that's what you go for? That is definitely an old person writing that. Um, okay, here's one person saying it's a mixed bag, a lot of missed opportunities and holes in the story. Yeah, sure. That's kind of what I'm going with. Um, this person is complaining about the effects, complaining that the time machine is a pocket watch and stuff. It's like, that. Do you not understand how that fits with Alice in Wonderland? Like that was honestly as best as it could have been. Okay, this person's saying it can't reach the height of its predecessors, and that it's lackluster in its musical moments and overarching story. I think the story, again, is fine for the most part. The story is a good story. It just doesn't quite stick the landing. And the music was definitely not lacking. The music was great. This other person says it's on par with the other films, but that means it's pretty forgettable for adults, which I don't agree with at all. Okay, so those are critic reviews. Let me check some audience reviews. You know, actual real people. Uh, Not that critics aren't real people, but you know what I mean. People who aren't just looking at it from a critical lens. Okay, so this one person who doesn't have a name listed here says that the music was iffy, which I very much disagree with. But they're saying that this was me and my brother's childhood, so it didn't really hit the same, which is fair. Like, you have this certain idea of it from your childhood, and also it's not quite as same as it could be. Um, this one person just says they butchered the series. The first three were solid. This one was weak, but doesn't go into any detail. I hate it when people do that. It's like, if you're going to say something like that, at least explain why. Like, this next person at least says why they think that. Horrible music, horrible plot. They don't go into further detail, but at least they give something. Also, I still disagree with that. This next person says it's obvious it was not directed by Kenny Ortega, which, sure, seems even more fake than the original three in terms of, like, effects and stuff. It's like, again, sure, but that's not really a bad thing. People look at that solely as a bad thing and don't try to view the context of how that can work. It's like, things looking fake and having bad effects can be used for charm and style and just fitting with the film's context and all. And I think in a film like this, it kind of makes more sense than if it looked amazing. So that didn't that's not a real issue, in my opinion. This person also says characters that were irrelevant, which is like just... I don't think there's a way to see that as true. Because that's just... Because they weren't the characters from the first three films, that makes them irrelevant. This is not a direct... I mean, it's kind of a direct continuation, but it's not like a direct continuation of that exact story. The old generation's time is done. It's a new generation. That's kind of the point. Inconsistencies through the plot. I mean, any time travel story will have that. And a problem that pretty much solved itself it was solved very fast. I said that it needed more time. It lacks of originality and independence. The first three movies weren't that original. Let's be honest here. This other person says, I'm trying to find like actual description of what they thought was bad about it. Let me see here. Was too fast paced. I assume it's paced and not past. Too fast paced. Too fast paced. Again, I definitely... most of the movie I don't think was too fast paced. It's just the ending. With a vague storyline. There's some spelling and grammar issues here compared to the others. Not too much else gone into there. Oh, also, here's something. Apparently, the actor who played Prince Charming was the same one from the Roger and Hammerstein Cinderella movie with Brandy. It was the same Prince Charming as well. I think that's really awesome. They didn't just get Brandy back, they got back her Prince Charming. Excuse me. I think that's just such a good touch. There's a lot of positive reviews here, too. Okay, this person says bad acting. I thought the acting was really no different in terms of quality to the first three movies. I wouldn't call it the best acting out there, but I thought it was fine. No issue with it. Again, this person does not go into any other detail. Wow. Okay, this person says the movie seems really thrown together. The editing is mediocre. Actually, a lot of the editing I thought was pretty good. There were some like good transitions and whatnot, for example. The songs have good bits to them, but overall aren't good. Again, disagree notably with that. And the storyline is very forced. How is it forced? I could see if you said rushed again, even though I thought that was just the end, but forced? And doesn't fit into the first three movies. I think overall the storyline does. I understand this is supposed to be a prequel in the middle of the series. I mean, yes and no. Like, a lot of it takes place in the past that would technically count as a prequel to the rest of them, yes, but the movie is a sequel, just generally speaking. Like, the movie itself is not a prequel. This person also says, I'm really bothered by the fact that they used Uliana and not Ursula. Like, it would have changed absolutely nothing but the name. Yeah, that part was a little confusing to me. It's like, why wasn't it Ursula? Why did they choose to have it be like her sister? That really didn't make a lot of sense to me either, but that's not that big of a deal. It doesn't actually, it's not a legitimate issue in my opinion. It doesn't like cause any big problems with the film. Um yeah, a lot of these people are just saying like they think it's bad without actually going into any detail. Yeah. Okay, here's one person who says that there's a lot of plot holes, doesn't specify anything, but says that. I again, there's definitely going to be some issues with that kind of thing with any time travel story, like literally any time travel story. In fact, I'd say every time travel story, not just any, but every single one is going to have issues with that because that's just an issue with with time travel as a concept. So that's it's just there's nothing that's going to be fixable with that. But I don't think it like caused any like real enjoyment issues. Uh, they say the acting was subpar, which again I disagree with. I think it was fine. I had no issue with the acting at all. The choreography, writing, costuming, and dancing were nowhere near the level. I really disagree with that. I don't see them as being like that different and everything. Oh, here's one who actually is just super honest about it. Maybe it's just because we don't see the main characters we all know and love. This person is just blatantly saying, "Oh, maybe it's just because it's different." Well, at least you're honest about it. Um anyway, that's enough of that for now. But yeah, the point is I thought this movie was honestly fantastic. But again, if you don't like it, that's fine. You are completely allowed to not like it. Everyone is entitled to their opinion, and I'm not here to change that. I'm just sharing mine. I just wanted to share my thoughts on it, share what I thought of it. I just repeated myself. Share my share my thoughts on it as, someone who's not like the most, I guess, invested in this series. It's like it's just something that I enjoyed. I'm not like this super fan or anything. Um, and as someone just as a casual viewer too, not someone who's going to be going into this looking at all the elements of it to critique it and everything. I'm just watching it just to try and enjoy it, and I thought it was really enjoyable. Like again, the ending I felt was rushed and was too simplistic in its messaging, and I feel like I feel like it definitely is kind of getting ahead of itself by assuming there's going to be a sequel to excuse me, a sequel to wrap things up with the entire time travel issues, which it kind of led to us believing was going to happen at the end. But yeah, it's just, I mean, it's not the best movie I've seen, but I wouldn't give it below a 7.5. Like, that's the absolute least I would give it, and honestly, probably an 8 out of 10, if I'm being completely fair. I really enjoyed this. I had a great time with it. But, but, that's Just me. Like I said, you're entitled to your opinion. If you don't like it, that's fine. You're entitled to come up with your own thoughts on it based on your own viewing experience. And I'd like to know what your thoughts are. So tell me in the comments below, what did you think of this film, good or bad? And let me know why, if you're willing to discuss it. I'd love to know your reasons if you like it or dislike it. And I'd like to discuss this with you, with anyone. Just please let me know your thoughts. And thank you so much for tuning in. For now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.